I gotta tell you, the quality of wood, I am having so much problem at any store I go to now, just trying to find quality wood. Here's 4 2x4s, and you can see just how warped and bowed and everything else these things are. So I'm gonna have to try and straighten these out somehow before I start this. Okay, so I did not record me using the jointer. The reason is it's the very first time I've ever used it, and I didn't want to, I had to figure some things out, so I didn't tape it. But what I did was these boards are so cupped, so warped, so everything else. I did what I could. So one side is flat, pretty good. I also surface planed one side down. You can still see there's a cup. I mean, that end of the board, I mean, this is a 2x4, so it was 3.5 inches. That's now 2.5, 3.5 in the middle. I mean, that's how much I had to take out of these boards. And there was only like 2 of them like that. That is not, my bench curves down because it's just on some sawhorses here. So that's not that bad of a board. But so I jointed one side, I surface planed one side. Lessons learned, I mean, you can see the snipe or divots because I was probably putting pressure where I shouldn't have been. So next I'm going to cut these down using the flat jointed side on the table saw and leave as much wood left as I can to be able to be functional. And then I'm going to put them through the planer. It's the first time I'm going to be using the planer as well, so I probably won't record that. But I'm going to get the joiner out of the way, pull that out, and then I will kind of straighten these up and go from there. Hey, Patrick here again, and what I've done so far is I've squared up 4 of the 2x4s. I had to cut them down quite a bit because they were so bowed. Got that all taken care of. Got them all cut to 90.5, so they're all the same length. What I'm doing right now is I'm marking the top board for the pattern, and just looking at my paper to make sure it's right. It is right. So I measured, for me, 6 inches up from the bottom. I've got baseboard trim that will sit here as well. So this will start about 15 inches up. We're going to put some boots under there for what we need. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm marking out these, as you can see, and going forward. So I'm marking a line 1.25 inches down and then doing a 45. So got my square here set to 1.25 inches. I'll go down here to the end, and then when I'm done with that, I will play with this. I'll go to the end of that new line, and I'll just do a 45, 45, and just keep going that way, all the way up the board. Once I have one of these done, I will tape all 4 boards together. I will then stand them like this and use the miter saw to cut all the 90-degree sections all the way down. And then I will turn my saw 45 degrees and come back and cut off all the 45 degrees. So right now, I'm just marking these out. It's a slow, tedious process. That's why I was wondering if I should just do a couple like this, do an empty gap, do a couple, do an empty gap, because I don't really know where I'm going to put these depending on the size of the shoes that she wants to put in her closet. So we'll do that. I did use the board planer for the first time. It was hard to get all 4 boards the consistent depth. Now I see why people buy the little readout, Wixie readout thing that can go on there to tell you how deep it's going. The gauge on there is kind of hard to replicate. Plus the boards were still a little cupped or whatever, even after going on the joiner and surface planing them. So it didn't all turn out that smooth, but good enough for what I'm doing. It's a learning process, right? So now I'll go through and mark all these and keep marking them, and then I'll film doing the miter saw.